Very good morning, and thank you very much Vidyashilp University for orchestrating such a dialogue on computational thinking. And I'm fascinated always with new initiatives and strategies that help K-12 institutes advance towards the next generation, hand-holding them and ensuring that they have a place in society, global society. And what fascinates me is that we have arrived at this nuance on time. We are on time in India for computational thinking. So if you look at the concept, of course the concept has been very well defined. It has been defined by Dr. Vijay and Emmanuel. And what happens here is that we have come across so many thinking skills in schools: creative thinking, critical thinking, design thinking using computers, and now computational thinking. So it's fascinating to see that all these thought processes actually shape personalities. They prepare people and they prepare students for a rather dynamic global society that is changing careers very rapidly. And with India being the top, I would say, migrant exporting, I don't want to use these words loosely, but so many of our students, so many of our professionals go overseas for IT-related jobs. We are considered a top country for information technology. That is because we shape our students, our ecosystem in schools and colleges in a way that is going to be rewarding for them. And India is largely, widely acknowledged over China and Mexico as IT capital, and Bangalore being IT capital of India. It makes even more sense when we get computational thinking on the ground. So if you look at the definition, of course they have gone through the stages and identified those stages for us, all the 4 stages. And how does it help? It helps with problem solving. It helps with a sequential mindset, a process-oriented mindset with STEM subjects, STEAM subjects. They have STEAM labs now in schools. And the problem-solving skills that can start as young as 2 or 3-year-old children, picking them up in the schools. Seymour Papert, of course, sir has mentioned Seymour Papert's revolutionary work in MIT in 1980, and then Janet Wing. They are all progressive intelligentsia. They're coming up with new ideas to shape and help society evolve. Where does it start? It starts in schools. It does not start in colleges. The colleges and the universities bring about the research inclination for independent research, but actually the fundamental basics are to be taught at schools. That is why I do think computational thinking is rather important and could be considered an imperative in schools if we are to retain our position in India. If you look at where we are heading, from the Anthropocene to the Novocene, if you look at the evolution of generations, and from the information technology, we are now at the cusp of innovative revolution, where machines and automation are becoming a part of the education industry, just as they are in healthcare. Nobody thought a robot could perform a surgery, but today they are very important assistants to doctors. Nobody thought about a fighter jet flying on automation in at hypersonic sounds, hypersonic speed. But today we have to understand that machinery is there in schools. We need to use it, but before we use it, the computer has started thinking like humans. When are humans going to start thinking like machines? Because we have to work with AI. So that's the interplay between machine thinking, machine learning, and human thinking, and thinking in a computational way, the way computers think. That gives it the Novocene. That's the new age. James Lovelock very well elucidates this. So as an educator, I'm bringing the two, trying to bring them seamlessly together, although it's a different task. And if you look at the emerging trends that are published by Google in school education, computational thinking is quite important, right there. Digital responsibility, innovative pedagogy. So whenever it comes to innovative pedagogy, we are very excited, because if there is a definite role that this thinking has to play in the careers that we are shaping up in the lives of our students, definitely we've got to sit back and take notice of it. How can we teach math? Of course, there are so many ways to teach computational thinking and social studies and physics, environmental sciences, music. I'm sorry I can't read it very clearly. However, I do think Vidyashilp University could consider conducting some classes and workshops for teachers, because this is not only for math teachers and computer science teachers, it is for all subjects. It's a rather interdisciplinary realm. And I think if teachers understand how to use computational thinking in their pedagogic practice in classrooms, I think that will be a very big help for us. And that will give us the research inclination also in our schools. So computational thinking can be taught in schools. You have robots in the classrooms, AI, and when Seymour Papert talked about computational thinking, he was talking about artificial intelligence. It was only when Janet Wing actually he brought about the different stages, the 4 steps and the 3 key principles, is that when that got differentiated in a more structured manner. Now there are a lot of innovative gadgets in our classroom, a lot of interfaces that are very, I would say, helpful, and computational thinking along with AI can increase cognitive abilities, degree of focus, memory recall, attention span, and definitely increase the IQ and EQ substantially. I will tell you how EQ is increased substantially by using machines. And of course, left, right, that is the logical reasoning and the creative ability of brain, as early as 2 or 3 years of age. And we have done a lot of research, and where I come from, I have a background in science, a little bit of chronobiology and neuroscience. And of course, I work with the Indus International Schools and the Indus Training and Research Institute, where we looked at new initiatives for teacher education with British universities, Indian universities. And I was in the US also, where we studied technology at a rather detail-oriented way in which its application in schools was being deliberated. So if you look at computational thinking and how it overlaps with mathematical thinking, you see problem solving, data analysis, statistics and probability. Now they're saying in the future more than 50% of jobs in the market are going to require computational thinking abilities, irrespective of which domain you are working with. That makes it so challenging. In America, it's more than 90%. That's why people go from here to there, because they don't have it. They have founded it, but they want people to come and help. So that's global evolution. So this is what we are all about, different careers. And I mean, if you look at the careers, any country in the world, even the top countries, they want people with computational thinking abilities. So it is so important for us to look at some of these careers that are coming through in the market, in the job market. So it is not only going to help the child develop as a global citizen, but give him an added advantage and an edge at university level when he studies, and also in the job market. So yes, computational thinking, an imperative in schools? Yes, so. Now if you look at the advantage of how this has come on time, if you look at Generation Alpha today, Generation Alpha are the tiniest tots in the classroom. They are pro-CT. They want computational thinking. They want teachers to teach them computational thinking. They are fascinated by gadgets. They like growing up with Alexa, Series, toys, robots. They do like it, and they have an emotional appeal also, some of these gadgets. And if they are taught to think like the computer in those processing in step-wise, stages-wise, principles, and if they are taught and their thinking skills are making them astute in using technology wisely rather than using it blindly. Right now what is happening is they're using technology for the sake of using technology. But if they are taught how to use it wisely and the different stages of computational thinking, I think it will be more useful for them when they grow up. So these alpha kids are very, very interesting. They are the tiny tots, below 11 years of age. And Mark Riddle, when he wrote his book in Australia, he published it and he talked about this, the children of the millennials, and his entire thesis talked about that, and he was writing all about alpha generation being the front runners, having the prowess in using technology, and they're going to be the most economically successful generation, arguably, but anyway, that's what he thought. And this is fascinating because they are with us. These are our children, they are in our schools, and this is the alpha generation. And India, with our population and with our average age at 27 years in the country, I think our job markets and our children, if they are endowed with this thinking capacity and skill, it will definitely give them an added advantage in the years to come. Now, schooling and emerging trends in schooling, when we're going into the Novocene, from the Anthropocene to the Novocene, the scene in schools will change. There's a lot of transitioning from industrial information age to the innovative age. That will require instrumentation, technology, mindset, creativity of faculty members largely, where they're going to have personalized learning, algorithm-based courses, mathematical modeling, MOOC, expeditionary learning, blockchains in school definitely is going to come through in the next couple of years. And with flexible learning pathways being suggested by the NEP, you could have all kinds of combination of courses conducted in schools. So there's going to be a lesser view of traditional schools and more of an exponential technology use with mixed reality, blended ecosystems, mentors, augmented virtual reality, schools going to children and not children going to schools. It could be a blended sort of an approach there. Assessments which will be more of an innovative assessment. So these are some of the changes that are going to come through. The computation also changes the ecosystem in schools. Now, fortunately, the schools that I work with are pro-technology, pro-computation, pro-research, and very much want to work with universities in understanding how we can shape this ecosystem in progressivity and progressing towards the Novocene. So this is how it works with machines thinking like humans and humans thinking like machines. Does it help? Of course, because a lot of research has shown all these things are there in the classrooms now. In the West, when I went to Oral Roberts University at the Global Learning Center, and we had the vice president there was at MIT, and he came through with a lot of his own humanware and holographic imaging, astral projection, transmediation, AI mirrors, which is being done in the university, Global Learning Center, and he has all these gadgets there, and that's being used in the teacher education college and the nursing college and 3 or 4 other, game-based learning. They develop their own games, how to teach physics, maths, etc. And it was fascinating to see how they were doing it at the university level to train their teachers. Because their impetus on teacher education is so good, it is easier for them to implement it in the classrooms in the schools, because the teachers finally go out in the classrooms. So here we're starting the other way around, and it's fine, because as long as we understand that there is a lot of research done into emotional intelligence and machines. Is it ethical? Is AI ethical? Are we allowing machines to come into classrooms without emotions in making decisions, working so closely with students? A lot of research has shown that actually there is a lot of fascination and empathy that children have towards machines and machines have towards children. So all this is quite interesting. Artificial intelligence and their progression, the emotions in the classroom. So AI is very ethical. In fact, AI is more ethical than human intelligence. I mean, it's sad to say this, but yeah, sometimes when we look at it, machines generally don't have too many biases. And the emotions that control biases again have to be relooked in a perspective that has to be randomized beyond artificial emotional intelligence. So computational thinking definitely will help our students, and if they are taught to work with gadgets and computational technology, it will increase their cognitive abilities and the abilities to work with AI. Because if AI is allowed to work independently, that's when it becomes probably unethical. Independent use of AI. AI is taking over, the AI take over, the whole thought of singularity curve coming in the equation. So here, neurology and nanotechnology, and what Professor was talking about, artificial neural networks in the brain. Google Brain has it. Humans have an organic brain with neural networks, neurons in the brain. IQ and EQ, we have the amygdala as a sensor for emotional control. All this gives you thinking, memory, function, and behavior. We have children working with gadgets. In the future, we will have robots working with children or working in any industry space, in any form of automation in universities or schools. For all you know, you'll have a robot as an assistant 10, 15 years down the line. You never know. Are they there to take over? If you let them function independently, they would probably. That is why we need to have computational thinking to ensure that this automation scene does not go haywire. So biodigital fusion, it has gone to the next extreme. Now where are we going? I mean, in the US they are doing so many more things, but I mean, the whole concept of ethics, biodigital fusion, and neuromorphic computation. Yes, they're talking about, chips in the brain and the evolution of species and all kinds of stuff. It is going. Where is it going? Is it going out of control or what? I mean, where do we draw the line? I'm just opening a window for you to look out and see this is reality. And before reality hits us, we need to know where to draw the line. However, yeah, there is absolutely AI and chips in the brain and all that. Neuralink, you can read it. This kind of research is happening where neuromorphic computation and biodigital fusion is becoming a reality in the ecosystem. Of course, we are educators and our policymakers probably know where to draw the line, but yes, we have to ensure the age of singularity doesn't dawn on us when we allow machines to independently take over and the AI takeover doesn't happen, because we have human beings and children and adults with computational thinking abilities, with ethical reasoning, with emotional intelligence, able to manage these machines and maneuver them in the right direction so that we evolve and make progress in the right direction. So that, we'll have the ethical window closed and open to only new careers, new dawn, an era of the normalcy in the right way. So the power of computational thinking, I'll leave you to question the reality of that. And I think we can make it a reality in schools. Thank you very much.